Single mom discovers incredible kindness, CEO steps up to cover 500 for life-changing medicine. In the heart of Maplewood, where every sidewalk held stories of neighbors waving hello but rarely asking deeper questions, Sarah fought against the tide. She rose every morning to the sound of her two children giggling, determined to give them a world filled with opportunities she could only dream of. As a single mom balancing shifts at the local diner and a retail store, she wore her determination like armor. But when her son Max was diagnosed with a chronic illness, everything changed. The weight of medical bills loomed over her like storm clouds. The dream she fought for felt farther away than ever. Each night, she tucked Max and Lily in, whispering promises of hope and hard work. "We'll make it, I swear," she'd say, her heart heavy with worry. But as the robust voices of the diner faded, replaced by the silence of her darkened apartment, Sarah's spirit faltered. Those bills didn't care about her determination. They threatened to drown her in worry and despair. One afternoon, at the diner, Sarah overheard whispers about a fundraiser someone had organized for her. Flyers fluttered on the walls of local shops, community pages lit up with offers of support. For once, Maplewood felt alive with generosity. Yet as the night approached, doubt crept into her heart. It was easy to wave goodbye to hardship in the comfort of one's home, but would they truly support her struggle? Ryan, the local CEO, was seated in his glossy office, papers and projections enclosing him from the outside world. Known for his philanthropy, he felt more like a ghost than a man of flesh and blood. When he heard the news about Sarah, a flicker of conscience sparked within him. Could he, who often floated above the troubles of everyday life, bear witness to the suffering? The thought intrigued and terrified him. On the night of the fundraiser, in casual clothes, Ryan walked into the community center. Around him, laughter and chatter filled the air as families mingled, each one sharing their own struggles, yet every story masked by polite conversation. Just as Sarah took the stage, her hands trembling, Ryan felt his heart beat wildly. She spoke about her journey, her love for her children crashing against the reality of their situation. Faces turned somber, emotions deepened. Before Ryan even realized it, he felt compelled to step forward. His anxiety washed away with a gust of courage. Just as the auctioneer raised his gavel and hope began to slip, Ryan raised his hand, revealing his generosity with a flourish. Gasps filled the room. Emotions threaded through the crowd. A whirlpool of disbelief and gratitude bubbled up. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Cheers erupted around Sarah, yet beneath the applause, uncertainty brewed. Had this act truly bridged their worlds, or would it deepen their differences? As Ryan's eyes met Sarah's, each of them felt the weight of that question. This moment sparked something vast between them, hinting at future struggles and unexpected connections. The applause echoed, but the real story had just begun. With hearts racing, they both pondered the road ahead. Would their lives change or simply spin around the same discourse of disparity that had always been there? The air in the community center felt electric, charged with shared hope and reluctant optimism. Ryan stood, still slightly dazed by the reaction to his gesture. Whispers of gratitude poured over him like warm sunlight, but inside, he wrestled with his own doubts. What now? Was this moment just a fleeting spark, or could it ignite something deeper? Sarah stepped down from the stage, a sheet of nervous energy wrapping around her. The applause washed over her, mixing with disbelief. She turned to Ryan, her eyes wide and searching. "You didn't have to do that," she said. Her voice trembled, so full of emotion that it broke through barriers. "I wanted to," Ryan replied, his smile warm but shaded by uncertainty. He was not used to being this close to real stories of struggle. "I wish it could be more." "It's more than enough," she assured him, her expression filled with gratitude. In that moment, they both felt the strange pull of fate, the kind that hinted at new beginnings and challenges yet to come. But as the night wore on, the initial excitement began to wane for Sarah. How would she rally her spirit for tomorrow? She couldn't shake the weight of the reality waiting for them. Medical bills loomed, and gratitude felt exhausting when mixed with anxiety. The jubilant clamor around her felt distant, as if she stood behind glass, watching life move forward without her. Ryan, too, felt restless. He glanced around the room, absorbing the warmth of the community, the knit of connection. For years, he had been so insulated from real struggles, catering to the elite while oblivious to the daily battles of people like Sarah. It was time to step beyond his glass walls. "Can we talk?" he ventured, gesturing towards a quieter corner of the hall filled with cookies and punch. Sarah hesitated, casting one last look at her friends, who beamed with admiration. She needed to pull herself away from the safety of their embrace, no matter how frightening it was to step further into Ryan's world. They moved aside, and once they settled into the alcove, Sarah took a deep breath. "What's next for you?" she asked. While her heart raced, her curiosity fortified her courage. "I want to help," he said, his voice dropping. "Beyond the fundraiser. I know I have resources, connections. I can help you navigate this." Sarah eyed him skeptically. "Sounds great, but I'm not looking for charity. I just want help surviving." The words hung in the air between them, a bridge already beginning to form despite the gulf of their lives. "Surviving," he echoed, his brow furrowing. He began to see Sarah not only as a single mother fighting for her family but also as a warrior battling a system that too often turned its back on the vulnerable. "What if we turned this into something bigger? A platform to support people like us?" A flicker ignited within her. "You mean creating something? A program?" "Exactly. Something that connects people, helps families in need, and, more importantly, raises awareness," he said, conviction building in his voice. Sarah's heart surged. She had wanted to make a difference not only for her children but for others faced with the same battles. "But how do we start?" she asked, the pang of uncertainty intertwining with the spark of hope. Ryan leaned in, his gaze steady. "Together. We'll share our stories, reach out to others, show them they're not alone." This was a world she barely knew, a world of power, influence, and perhaps the means to change lives. But she also felt the gravity of their different backgrounds, the profound weight of their choices. Before she could say more, a rush of whispers erupted from the crowd. They turned to see a woman holding a large check, tears in her eyes, announcing donations that far exceeded their hopes. As cheers erupted once more, Sarah and Ryan exchanged glances, both sensing they stood on the precipice of something unprecedented. With destiny nudging them forward, they couldn't help but wonder what challenges would this collaboration bring? The answer was a dance of vulnerability and potential, one that had only just begun to unfold. Would they find the strength to forge ahead into this uncharted territory, or would they be shackled by their fear? The buzz in the community center simmered down after the donation reveal, but the energy remained palpable. The warmth that had enveloped Sarah and Ryan lingered around them like a comforting shadow. The moment the applause faded, the stark reality rushed back in. "What just happened?" Sarah whispered, her eyes darting from the check in the woman's hands to Ryan's face, searching for an explanation. Every emotion had swirled within her: hope, fear, disbelief, and it felt dizzying. I think we just stepped into something bigger than we imagined," Ryan replied, the weight of his own words settling like a stone in his stomach. "This could be the catalyst, Sarah. This is just the beginning." His enthusiasm merged with her cautious excitement. "But what does it mean for us?" she asked, her voice barely more than a breath, a mixture of eagerness and trepidation coloring her tone. "It means we can start." Ryan's face was earnest. "We can reach out, gather stories, build a platform. We've already seen the community's support tonight." Together, they moved back into the thrumming heart of the center. The laughter and cheers were almost overwhelming. But through the raucous joy, Sarah felt an undercurrent of restlessness. The burdens waiting at home loomed large, each day a failed attempt to keep things afloat, yet as they surveyed the crowd, she caught sight of faces she recognized, families wrestling with their own challenges, friends who shared whispered worries about bills at the kitchen table. It suddenly felt personal. "What if we host a support meeting here?" The idea slipped from her lips, catching Ryan slightly off guard. A gathering for people like us. People who need to know they're not alone. His eyes widened with possibility. That's perfect. We can invite local speakers, maybe even start with some resource distribution. We could use this space to create real connections. But how? A flicker of doubt crossed Sarah's expression. None of this is easy. We can't just magically make it happen. Nothing worth doing ever is, he countered gently, sensing the hesitance simmering beneath her determination. We can lean on the community. The support we already felt tonight proves it. As their conversation deepened, the crowd thinned to smaller groups, laughter intertwining with new stories. Ryan and Sarah hovered at the edges, still plotting their next steps. I don't know if I'm qualified for this, Sarah admitted, her voice wavering. What if I mess it up? What if nobody shows up? Hey, Ryan said, stepping closer, his sincerity enveloping her. You're more than qualified. You live this every day. Your experience matters. The truth is, it's okay to be afraid. What's important is to act despite that fear. The unexpected encouragement felt like a light flickering on within her. It wasn't just about survival anymore, it was about connection, community, a shared mission. Okay, then. Let us do it. Let us make that meeting happen. And as they locked eyes, a silent pact knit itself between them, an unspoken promise to face whatever challenges lay ahead together. Suddenly, laughter erupted from a nearby table, drawing their gaze. A child, no more than 6, had stolen a cookie from the plate and raised it triumphantly like a trophy. The sight made Sarah chuckle, her heart lightening for the first time that night. Life, with all its complications, twinkled brightly with moments like that: family, community, and unexpected warmth. But as they smiled at the scene, a shadow flickered across Ryan's face. The weight of unspoken fears loomed. What if we get in over our heads? What if? Before he could voice the thought fully, a voice broke through the crowd, a woman who had been sitting quietly at the edge, suddenly stepping up with a determined glint in her eye. You're not alone, she declared, catching the attention of everyone around her. Sarah felt her heart race. What would come next? Would this woman add her voice to their cause, or would fear pull her back just like it had so many others? The air grew thick with suspense. The woman took a deep breath, the kind that seemed to fill her from the soles of her shoes to the tips of her fingers. It was as if the very act of speaking had released a floodgate. I've been watching you both, she continued, her voice steady yet tinged with emotion. My name is Lisa, and I'm a single mom. I've faced my own share of struggles, and I can tell you, you're onto something big here. The crowd was now fully engaged, leaning in, whispering, and craning their necks to catch every word. Behind them, the cookie-stealing boy was silenced, the adults around him focused on the unfolding drama. Every month, I juggle bills and medical expenses, Lisa said, her eyes glistening. Some days I barely scrape by. I felt so alone in this fight, especially trying to find help. Tonight, I learned that I'm not. Neither are you. We need this space to share our experiences, to lift each other up. We can help one another. A wave of murmurs rippled through the crowd. The warmth Sarah felt earlier ignited again, like a small fire flickering to life. Ryan bumped her shoulder gently, exchanging a surprised but excited glance. Let us lift each other up, Lisa continued, momentum building in her voice. Who would come to a support meeting? I would. I'd bring my story and those of other moms I know. Sarah's heart raced. That was just what they needed. By sharing stories, they weren't merely creating a meeting, they were igniting a movement. I'll come too, said another voice from the back. It was a shy-looking elderly man who had been sitting quietly until now. I've been struggling with my health. I don't know how to navigate the system. At once, a cascade of hands shot up like flowers breaking through winter soil. Each hand represented a life, a story, a challenge. People with hidden burdens began to reveal what had kept them silent. It wasn't just laughter anymore, it was the tender expression of shared pain pulling the community together. The energy in the room surged, a palpable tide of resolve and hope. Sarah felt every pulse in her chest aligning with the purpose that was rising. What if they could truly create something special? A space not just for sharing struggles but for building solutions? Okay, let us brainstorm right now, Ryan called, his excitement infectious. What do we need to make this happen? Ideas flooded in: community speakers, workshops, parenting tips, food drives, and resource lists. Sarah picked up a pen, jotting down every thought that danced into the air. She could almost hear the heartbeats of everyone gathering closer, weaving threads of support that they could rely on. But as the crowd started buzzing with energy, a flicker of anxiety gnawed at Sarah. It was beginning to feel huge. What if she couldn't manage it? What if things spiraled? Would she let them all down? Sarah, Ryan's voice cut through her whirlwind of thoughts. He had stepped closer, gripping her shoulder. Look around. This is the start. You won't be doing it alone. We have a community. We all do. She smiled back, courage quivering at the edges of her heart. Maybe they could transform the weight of their struggles into something tangible and beautiful. Just then, Lisa turned to face them again, a glimmer of determination in her eyes. Let us set a date for our first meeting right now. Who's in? Hands went up again, and laughter mixed freely with anticipation in the air. But what if all this excitement fades? Sarah whispered to Ryan, her fears sneaking back in. What if we don't keep up the momentum? Ryan's gaze deepened, and he squeezed her shoulder reassuringly. We don't have to do this perfectly. We just need to start. As the realization sank in, Sarah felt lighter. They weren't aiming for perfection, just connection. While the enthusiasm of the crowd buzzed around them like bees around a hive, a feeling washed over her: a deeper understanding of their shared humanity. But just as the excitement peaked, a voice broke through again, this time sharper, piercing the growing euphoria. You all seem so optimistic. But have you thought about how overwhelming this might really get? What if you can't handle it? The words hung heavy, stirring doubt like a whisper in the wind. Sarah looked at Ryan, and then at the crowd, wondering how the tide would turn from here. The room felt electric and yet heavy simultaneously. Sarah scanned the faces in front of her. Some wore expressions of hope, while others mirrored her own anxiety. The woman's voice had cut through the buzz, and now there was an unsettling tension in the air. What if I can't handle it? Sarah thought. The idea of leading a meeting, of being responsible for everyone's hopes, felt like a weight on her chest. Her palms grew damp as she grabbed Ryan's arm, seeking courage. Lisa, sensing the shift in energy, stepped forward. That's a fair point, she said, her voice calm but fierce. It's okay to feel overwhelmed. But if we don't start talking, nothing will change, right? We have to acknowledge that it's going to be tough. A murmur of agreement flowed through the audience. It was true, struggling together didn't mean struggling alone. We're here to help each other, she continued. Yes, it's daunting. But isn't staying quiet even scarier? Ryan nodded, his expression resolute. This is a safe space. We're not looking for answers right away. We're looking for each other. That's the first step. The crowd began to shift again, the tension slowly dissipating as shoulders relaxed and anxious faces softened. Sarah caught Lisa's eye, and Lisa smiled reassuringly back, her determination inspiring a ripple of confidence within her. Let us channel our fear into something constructive, Sarah chimed in, her voice growing steadier. We'll take it one meeting at a time. Each story we share will make us stronger and give us the tools we need to fight. A slow wave of nods traveled through the audience. The elderly man who had spoken earlier raised his hand again. I might not have all the energy I used to have, but I've got memories, stories that could help, he said. That opened the floodgates. People began to share snippets of their struggles, voices intertwining, forming a tapestry of vulnerability. A single mom spoke about her fears of losing her job, while a teenager revealed the pressures he felt from school. Each story was a thread, weaving the fabric of community tighter. Sarah took a step back, feeling the warmth of solidarity wrap around her like a comforter on a cold night. They weren't alone. They could lean on one another. It didn't have to be perfect. It just had to be real. Let us set something more than just a date for our next meeting, Lisa proposed, a spark igniting her eyes. Let us bring in speakers who have been in our shoes, people who can share strategies for navigating the hard stuff. Sarah's heart swelled as excitement swirled among the crowd. The crowd buzzed with ideas again: resource lists, mental health experts, nutritionists. Then came an unexpected silence once more, heavier than before, as a new face emerged from the back of the room. A man with kind eyes and a crisp suit, clearly out of place, raised his hand hesitantly. "Excuse me," he said, breaking through the hush, "I couldn't help but overhear your conversation. I have resources that could fund these meetings, and I'd like to offer help." Gasps of shock rippled through the crowd. Sarah's heart raced. Who was this man? Was he really willing to support them? She exchanged glances with Ryan, whose eyes widened in disbelief. "Wait, what is your name?" Sarah asked, taking a step toward him. "David. David Turner. I run a local nonprofit aimed at helping single parents and families in need," he answered, confidence rising in his voice. "I've found that often, it just takes the first step to make a change, and I'd love to help you all take that step." The energy in the room shifted again. Hope flared like a new flame, the moment pregnant with possibilities. Just when Sarah thought it couldn't get any more surreal, it did. "Is this really happening?" she murmured to Ryan, the weight of doubt lifting. "Let us find out," he replied, his smile spreading as the crowd erupted in applause. But just as cheers filled the space, lingering questions tugged at Sarah's mind. What did it really mean to accept help? How would it transform their initiative moving forward? As they basked in the glow of the moment, she realized they had approached the edge of something extraordinary. Would they be ready to dive deep? The applause echoed, a wave of affirmation that washed over Sarah, but the thrill of excitement was mingled with uncertainty. David stood there, the calm in the center of a storm, but something in her gut stirred. Can he really provide what we need, she thought? She could feel the heat of the crowd's energy but couldn't shake her doubts. Was this genuine? Or was it just a fleeting moment of inspiration that could vanish as fast as it had arrived? "David!" Lisa called out, breaking through Sarah's thoughts. "Thank you for your offer. We would love to hear more about how you can help." David cleared his throat, and the room quieted again, his power as a speaker palpable. "Thank you, Lisa. I believe that everyone here has the potential to uplift one another. I see people like all of you who are willing to fight for change, and that's exactly the kind of passion we need." A collective murmur of hope circled around. The elderly man offered a shaky smile, and the single mom who had spoken earlier turned to face David, her eyes lit with a new light. "What kind of programs do you usually support?" she asked. David's eyes brightened as he spoke. "We work on everything from organizing workshops on budgeting to providing mental health resources. We want families to feel empowered, not just supported. I can help coordinate speakers, offer planning sessions, and ensure everyone has access to the resources they need." The chatter grew louder, energized by his words. They talked about mental health professionals, skill-building workshops, and mutual support systems. The vision was taking shape right in front of Sarah's eyes. Their initiative was no longer just an idea but something tangible. Still, an itch of hesitation nudged at her. "But what if," she began, glancing quickly at Ryan, "what if we lose control? Will it still feel like it's ours?" Ryan must have sensed her concern. He leaned slightly closer, his voice just a whisper. "You're worried that we won't be able to have the same kind of bond with David in the picture. But remember, he is offering assistance, not taking over. We can still shape our own journey." "Right," she murmured, but deep down, she felt the weight of responsibility growing again. Lisa continued to engage David, asking practical details about funding and logistics, but Sarah shifted in her seat. Among rows of faces, she caught glimpses of their struggles, each story still fresh and raw. A knot formed in her throat. They had come so far, only to dance on this precarious edge of trust and fear. Will I be able to put aside my doubts? She asked herself. It felt monumental. Suddenly, the room's energy shifted. David finished addressing the crowd, and the long-anticipated moment for questions and ideas arrived. Hands shot up everywhere, each person hungry for engagement. It was almost electrifying. "Let us not lose this momentum," Sarah called out, pushing through the rising tide of thoughts. "What do we need from David to feel comfort in this process?" The crowd quieted as they considered her words. In her heart, she knew they needed clear communication. If they were opening their doors to assistance, they needed parameters too. "I can assure you," David interjected, holding up his hands, "that my goal is to elevate your voices, not drown them. I'm here to offer support while you lead." "What do you imagine our first steps could look like?" Activities and ideas erupted like fireworks. Someone suggested a community fair, another proposed a speaker series focused on resilience. Lisa took notes furiously, a bright smile on her face as she glanced at Sarah, but as the suggestions flowed, Sarah felt that nagging feeling returning. What if David's help isn't enough? What if we reach a point where we can't go forward? This felt like an emotional tightrope walk, and she wondered how they could remain steady if the conversations buzzed, the hope palpable, but Sarah felt herself pulling back. In that moment of hesitation, she knew she had to dive into the uncertain waters of trust. To keep the flame of their vision alive, she must face her fears. Head-on.as The meeting pressed forward. David looked directly at her, as if sensing her inner conflict. "You're on the front lines of this change," he said softly. "Don't be afraid to ask for what you need. You're never alone in this." A thought flickered in her mind. What if this was the beginning of something profound, or perhaps the emergence of a new kind of strength? Can I trust him? She wondered, her heart racing not with fear but with possibility. And as she caught Ryan's knowing gaze, the room swarmed with energy. Could they truly embrace this new alliance without losing themselves? Just as the chant of ideas began again, a small voice called out from the back, cutting through the enthusiasm. "But what if we succeed beyond our wildest dreams?" The question hung in the air, charged with potential. What indeed? Would they be ready to embrace their own success, or would the fear of it hold them back? The atmosphere in the room buzzed with excitement and trepidation. Sarah couldn't shake off the echo of that last question, rippling through her mind like a pebble dropped in water. It felt monumental, like the weight of all their hopes and fears crashing together. As the discussions gradually took off again, she focused on David. His manner was steady and his enthusiasm infectious. He moved among the crowd, listening intently. He jotted down notes while people talked about their dreams, despite barriers and struggles, of rebuilding their community into a place where everyone could thrive. But as Sarah listened, she wrestled with her inner demons. Fear wrapped around her heart like a heavy blanket. Sure, possibilities unfolded like petals blooming in spring, but would they truly soar? And what if success only magnified their problems? In one corner, she caught sight of that single mom from before, the one with tired eyes and a brave smile. The kind of woman who carried the weight of the world on her shoulders but still believed in magic. As David spoke to her, she started to beam, her hands animated as she shared her story of struggling to keep her kids afloat financially while chasing a dream. Sarah felt a swell of warmth. It was moments like this that reminded her of why they all gathered, flights of joy intertwined with shadows of doubt as the ideas morphed into a concrete plan. The community fair, a centerpiece of their growing vision, would showcase their resilience and needs. Workshops on mental wellness were eagerly proposed, and people nodded in agreement. She could see them believing in themselves, yet, in the midst of these ideas, Sarah felt the rawness of vulnerability creeping in. What if we fail? Every joyful voice felt like a whisper against her fears. She looked at Ryan, who met her gaze with reassuring eyes. "It's about taking the leap, right?" he seemed to say without uttering a word. Courageously, she raised her hand, silencing the chatter. "What if success looks different than we imagined?" The room paused, the air thick with curiosity. Can we really ensure that everyone feels involved? What if some voices are left unheard? The room was silent, and David stepped closer, his demeanor serious but kind. "That's a great point, Sarah. Success isn't just about large numbers or gala events, it's about creating space where everyone feels valued. We must check in on each other continuously." His words hung heavy, feeling like a lifeline tossed into turbulent waters. People around her nodded, and Sarah felt a flicker of hope. Perhaps the very act of questioning would help solidify their pathway, turning uncertainty into unity. As discussions continued and people made plans, Sarah realized her heart was opening. Each voice mattered. Each story was a thread woven into a larger tapestry that represented their community. Maybe, just maybe, they really could craft something that felt right, their own design. The meeting began to wind down, but the energy lingered. Lisa clapped her hands together, getting everyone's attention. Let us keep this momentum going. We're planning to meet again next week to solidify our action plan and assign roles. Excitement buzzed in the air like electricity, but Sarah's thoughts drifted back to her nagging doubts. What if things didn't unfold as they hoped? Disappointment loomed on the horizon like a shadow. David noticed Sarah's pensive face and walked toward her, his voice gentle but firm. Remember, it's okay to have doubt. It means you're invested. But the most beautiful outcomes often come from uncertainty. Trust in the process. A little spark ignited in her heart. Trust. It felt like a tall order, but hope wrapped around it like a thread they could tie to one another. Just as the gathering dispersed, a voice piped up from the back. What happens if we tough it out and hit the jackpot? Will we be ready to hold on to our success? The question hung there, weighty once more. Sarah felt the pressure to answer, her heart drumming wildly. Could they nurture their success without sacrificing what they had built? Or would ambition lead to unintended consequences? As uncertainty loomed, the tension felt palpable, and she wondered, was this just the beginning of navigating both fear and freedom? The week flew by in a blur of anticipation and doubt. Sarah couldn't stop replaying that last question over and over in her mind. Would they be ready to handle the challenges success might bring? Could they truly strengthen their community without losing themselves in the process? As she strolled through the neighborhood on the way to the next meeting, she noticed the faces of everyday people: the cashier who always smiled despite long hours, the elderly man who sat on his porch watching life unfold, the children drawing with chalk on the sidewalk. They were the heartbeat of the community. The weight of responsibility settled on her shoulders, and it felt heavier than ever. Were they really capable of making a change? When she arrived at the community center, the energy was different this time. Instead of just excitement, there was an unexplainable current of connectedness. Faces were lit with determination. David was already there, chatting amicably with a group of people gathered around a small table. He caught sight of Sarah and waved, beckoning her over. "Hey, everyone," he called out. "Let us take a moment to acknowledge what Sarah pointed out last week. We need to ensure that every voice counts in this journey." The group nodded, everyone listening intently as a sense of collective ownership sparkled in the air. A woman named Mia spoke up, her voice strong. "I've seen what happens when some voices get overlooked. Growing up here, I felt invisible. I want to make sure that we uplift everyone, especially those who usually go unheard." A chorus of agreement rippled through the room. Sarah felt a swell of gratitude. Mia's words resonated deeply, and she realized a huge part of what frightened her was the fear of repeating past mistakes. She opened her mouth to share her thoughts when suddenly, a commotion erupted at the entrance. A young girl, perhaps 8 years old, burst into the room, her face scrunched in worry as she tugged on her mother's shirt. "Mom! It's Ava! She can't breathe!" The urgency snapped everyone to attention. Without a second thought, Sarah moved toward them, her heart racing. It felt like an instinct, the need to help. "Okay." David stepped forward, his authority grounding the chaos. "Let us stay calm. Can you tell me what happened?" The mother tried to explain between ragged breaths, panic clinging to her words as if they were a lifeline. Sarah's thoughts raced, they needed to act. "Is anyone a nurse or has first aid training?" She called out, looking into the sea of faces that now seemed frozen in shock. A man stepped forward, his face tense but determined. "I am," he said firmly. "Show me where she is." As he moved, the young girl clung to her mother, trembling. "I just want her to be okay." Her small voice trembled, barely audible amid the rising tension. In that moment, the room transformed. Everyone was engaging, people pulling out their phones to call for help, others searching for a first aid kit. Sarah felt a fire in her belly. It wasn't just about dreaming anymore, it was about action, about being present when it mattered. As they waited for help, David took the girl's mother aside, speaking words of reassurance. Sarah watched the scene unfold, her heart warming as she realized they were more than just a group of hopeful dreamers. They were becoming a community that acted, that cared. Finally, the sirens wailed in the distance, growing louder. Sarah breathed a sigh of relief as the paramedics rushed in, assessing the situation. The young girl would be okay, but the experience left an indelible mark. After assurances from the paramedics that Ava was stable, the energy in the room shifted once again. What started as fear morphed into unity, each person's heart beating as one. Sarah glanced around, her eyes landing on Mia, who smiled brightly, and she understood. People will rise up together in moments like these, Mia said softly. This is what community means. As they returned to their agenda, Sarah felt a renewed purpose. Maybe, just maybe, they could hold on to their ideals while embracing the kindness that surrounded them. But as they began discussing next steps, an uneasy thought flickered in Sarah's mind. What if they became too focused on the fair, too busy with their plans, and missed the moments that truly mattered? Little did they know, the real test was just around the corner, waiting to challenge everything they believed in. The following week, the sun rose high, casting a warm glow over the community center. It was fair day, the culmination of all their planning and hard work. Excitement buzzed in the air, but for Sarah, an uneasy knot twisted in her stomach. Last week's incident had shifted something deep within her. It was a reminder that life could be unpredictable. As she arrived at the center, Sarah was met with a vibrant scene. Colorful banners fluttered, laughter echoed, and the smell of barbecued food wafted through the air. She walked through the throng, exchanging greetings and smiles, yet she couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. Sarah! Over here! Mia waved her over, beaming like a lighthouse. Hey! Looks amazing! Sarah replied, forcing a smile as she joined the group. They gathered around a table laden with homemade treats and crafts. Everyone's been so generous, Mia said. We've got a ton of volunteers, and I think this fair is going to bring the community together like never before. Sarah nodded, but her mind replayed the earlier discussion. That's great, but we still need to remember why we're doing this, right? We want to connect, not just create a fair. Mia's brow furrowed slightly. Of course. This is just the start. But let us not lose sight of the fun. Just then, a loud cheer erupted at the entrance. Sarah turned to see David stepping onto an improvised stage, a microphone in hand, with the crowd gathering around him. Excitement danced in the atmosphere as he began to speak. Thank you all for coming. Today isn't just about fun, it's about our community coming together. Because together, we have power, he proclaimed, waving his arms dramatically. We're here to share and support one another, to lift each other up. As he spoke, the crowd cheered louder, their enthusiasm palpable. Sarah felt a spark of hope until a familiar figure entered the scene, a woman she recognized from the corner of her eye, her face drawn and anxious. It was Sam, a single mother from the neighborhood, clutching her little boy as if he were her only lifeline. Sam! Sarah called, rushing toward her. Is everything okay? It's Michael, Sam said, her voice trembling. He needs his asthma inhaler. I can't find it, and I think his attack is getting worse. I don't know what to do. Sarah's heart raced. Okay, let us find a quiet spot. Where can we go? As they hurried away from the festivities, Sarah sought out David, her mind racing. We need to help Sam. Can someone get to a pharmacy? Maybe they can bring an inhaler? David nodded urgently. I'll arrange it. You stay with her. Let us keep calm. Moments later, Sarah and Sam found a secluded area where Michael sat wheezing and pale. He looked so small and fragile, and Sam's hands trembled as she stroked his hair. You're going to be okay, buddy, Sarah said, trying to project calm. She wished more than anything that she could take his pain away. Just then, as if the universe was listening, a tall figure emerged from the crowd. Mr. Harris, the local CEO known for his charitable work. He was the last person Sarah expected to see, yet his presence seemed to uplift the dire situation. "I heard there's a medical emergency?" he asked in a firm, yet kind voice. A small crowd of bystanders began to gather, worried faces watching intently. "Yes, my son needs his inhaler." Sam's voice cracked, but beneath the fear glimmered a flicker of hope. Mr. Harris straightened up, determination in his eyes. "I'll cover the costs for whatever medicine is needed. Just tell me what to do." "Wow, really?" Sam blinked in disbelief. "Yes. We'll get him what he needs." It's time we all rallied together for one another. In that defining moment, Sarah felt the weight of the world lift just a little. The compassion unfolding around her created ripples of warmth and unity. She had to believe that they really could strengthen their community, but she wondered, as Sam exchanged frantic words with Mr. Harris, what would happen when this moment passed? Would they carry this spirit of kindness beyond today? Or would they let it fade as quickly as it arrived? The questions lingered in her mind, heavy with possibility as they awaited the inhaler, the future unpredictable but promising. The fair was bustling, laughter floated through the air, and amidst all the joy, a quiet resolve wrapped around Sarah's heart. She could feel the community pulsing with life, yet it became painfully clear as moments unfolded that people continued to struggle, each carrying their invisible burdens while trying to contribute to the greater good. Her eyes were drawn to the crowd, where smiles illuminated faces, and she recognized their collective desire for connection, support, and resilience. As Sam and Michael waited for the inhaler, anxious but hopeful, Sarah felt a flicker of inspiration. This was their chance to strengthen not just their own ties, but the very fabric of Maplewood, bridging the gaps between lives often relegated to shadows. The kindness displayed that day could create a movement that would extend far beyond the tented fair. When Mr. Harris rallied those around him to help, it became evident that this moment was starting to ripple into something greater than any one person could orchestrate alone. Sarah's heart swelled as Michael's color began to return, and his smile once so faint had begun to spark with life again. Right then and there, she glimpsed what they could achieve together. "Sarah!" Mia rushed toward her, excitement in her eyes, barely able to contain herself. "This is incredible. It's all unfolding before us. Look at the connections we're creating." "Absolutely," Sarah replied, her voice firm yet laced with the warmth of their shared vision. "But we need to make sure this isn't just a moment, it has to be a movement. We must commit to this beyond the fair." And in that instant, a realization blossomed inside her: they needed organization, consistency, and clarity to sustain their newfound momentum. "Let us create a mentorship program," she proposed, her words spilling out as fervently as she imagined the community waking up to a night brimming with possibility. "Each one of us can take a part in shaping lives. Let us empower one another to rise." Mia's eyes lit up. "Yes. And we can pair volunteers with families in need. It can extend for weeks, even months, beyond today." That simple exchange ignited a fire within the crowd. Ideas sparked new discussions, building a web of support with every story that emerged. Each person shared their experience, their pasts interwoven with hardship yet colored with aspirations. By the end of their brainstorming, there was a palpable heartbeat, a commitment to act and to listen. They formed teams, divided responsibilities, and set ambitious goals as the sun began its descent, casting everything in a golden glow. Sarah felt the release of tension, the way hope lifted the anxious staleness that had threatened to delay their dreams. She turned to Ryan, who stood nearby, eyes bright with anticipation as he absorbed their collective energy. "Look at what we're creating," she whispered, her heart bursting with emotion. He smiled back, a radiant connection transmitted without words. "This is only the beginning, and all of it is happening because of us. We can change lives." The weight of responsibility felt lighter. A banner of their dreams, once only a single thread, had woven itself into a tapestry of strength, unyielding yet flexible enough to encompass everyone's stories. As the fair came to a close, and soft music filled the air, Sarah took a moment to look around at the faces that had gathered, the fragile spirits that had embraced hope with open hearts. She felt grateful. Grateful that amidst the chaos of life's demands and fears, they had found the courage to connect. But deep down, she knew that to nurture this growth required effort, persistence, and a promise to step outside of their comfort zones. Change wouldn't happen with just enthusiasm, it demanded action and vulnerability, something she was now ready to embrace. As they prepared to part ways, a little boy rushed up, holding onto the cashier's hand, a child who had previously run around the fair with carefree joy, now joining to share in the festivities. "Thank you, Miss Sarah," he beamed, lighting up her heart with gratitude for making it feel like we all belong together. Tears pricked Sarah's eyes. In that moment, she understood. Love, kindness, determination, these were the tools that would build their community. This path wouldn't always be easy, but it was theirs to forge. They would keep leaning on one another and building bridges where none existed. As the last echoes of laughter faded into the dusk, Sarah felt immense pride in the community they had begun to cultivate. It was here, in this very moment, that the true transformation had begun, not merely within their individual lives, but within the entire heart of Maplewood. With a deep breath, she turned to face the others. "Let us not stop here," she declared, her voice ringing clear. "Let us commit to nurturing this together. Let us be the change, support each other, and ensure that no one feels alone again." As they lifted their voices in unity, Sarah felt it the potential of a real movement, one that would ripple through the lives of those in Maplewood, breathing life into every hidden story. The future was no longer uncertain, it was theirs to shape, together, fearlessly and with open hearts. Now is the time to embrace this moment. You need to subscribe now to be part of the change and not miss our next exclusive stories. Be sure to leave a like now to feed the algorithm and keep this movement alive. Comment below your reactions and feelings about this transformation. Your voice matters, and please, share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this powerful journey unfold. Don't wait not even one more second to share. Let us spread hope and inspiration together.